to the JR The Bossman Show with John Beckler. Today, we have on the show with us TrueSpeech, one of our guys in Bossman ENT Group. Also, In My Soul, Roche Joyner. I'm a Cowboy for life. To create a song. We're going to debut his new song today on the show. And, of course, our man from Memphis, 5 for 1, mug shots, every day, all day. Till I his radio, Johnathan C. Smith joins us talking about the Cowboys and for the Boss Report. But we already got my man on the line. TrueSpeech. What's good, bro?
What's going on, Jay? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good, man. I had to get you on the show, bro, because this has been a week for you. Up there in Big Ten country, you and John, Ohio State, Michigan, with Jim Harbaugh, but the man Urban Meyer with the third-string quarterback Cardale Jones looking like a baller out there doing his thing, bro. Talk about the Big Ten resurgence with the addition of Jim Harbaugh, but with the SEC going down to the Big Ten school, Ohio State, with a third-string quarterback in Cardale Jones, and what they did going against Oregon and Alabama, getting the job done in the first ever college football playoffs.
Oh, well, definitely, man. I've been an advocate for the Big Ten Conference for basically my entire life. So, even though it was Ohio, now me being a Michigan man, no, sorry, John, but you know how it is between Michigan and Ohio. But I was happy to see the Big Ten Conference being well represented. I was definitely happy to see a Big Ten Conference member beat up on Big Bad Alabama. I'm not really an Alabama fan, me personally, so I was happy to see somebody finally take down one of the SEC. So that was definitely a good thing. I'm so excited that we have Jim Harbaugh leading the Wolverines, hail to the victors. That's definitely a big moment, not only for the University of Michigan, but for the conference as well. Bringing a coach in of that caliber to the program, it speaks volumes to the power of the Big Ten Conference. The Big Ten in recent years, it hasn't been performing up to standards, but, me and John, we definitely haven't lost faith in our conference. And, I've held steadfast to the belief that the Big Ten is one of the most premier conferences in all of college sports. And this past week has proved that. I was definitely excited to see OSU clinch the first ever national championship for college football. Definitely an exciting moment. I've been praying for a playoff system in college sports for a very long time, and we finally got one this year. I think it went off without a hitch. It was very well done. It was very well represented, and I think everything was absolutely lovely. So, I'm wearing my Big Ten colors with pride now, man. So it's a beautiful thing.
In speech, I totally agree with you when you make the statement that, the Big Ten Conference, guys like us, true fans of the Big Ten, guys who grew up with Big Ten football have to, these days stand up and represent and hold it down for the conference much more than we used to because, people are coming at the Big Ten left, right, and center. They're trying to throw shade at them, and they really kind of pushed it back this year. Each conference has ebbs and flows, ups and downs in the product that they put on the field. That's just the way it happens with coaching changes, recruiting classes. Some power teams that hold conferences up have a down year, and if you have a couple of them that have a down year together, the conference suffers. So it is what it is. I mean, that's just the nature of every conference out there. It'll happen with the SEC. It's happened with, the Big 12. It's happened with the Big 10, Pac-10. All of them have the ups and downs. So I'm happy to see Jim Harbaugh coming back into the mix at Michigan because it's going to push the conference forward. It's going to make that matchup at the end of November with Ohio State a much better game than it has been in recent years. And I'm interested to know what your feeling is specifically on the coaching change at Michigan and how you see that helping not only the university but the conference itself.
Well, definitely. I'm looking forward to that matchup in November because, like you said, we have taken a few beatings the past few years. I'm going to be honest with you. It's been a few rough years here. So I think with Jim Harbaugh coming in, he's not only bringing in a different atmosphere, he's bringing in a different style of leadership. He's bringing in a different level of experience. I mean, he's had success at the pinnacle of sports. San Francisco was going to the Super Bowl. And every year that he was there, they have been successful. So with him bringing that knowledge base on how to run a successful professional franchise back down to the college level, it speaks volumes to the power of the conference. There are a few coaching jobs that were available, within college football that he could have went to, but he chose the University of Michigan. It was a good fit. He is an alum, but it was one of the most prestigious jobs that was available because that speaks to not only the conference but to the university as well. I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be sort of a renaissance. We've had some ups and downs here at U of M within recent years. No offense to Brady Hoke, but past years have been a little rough. So I'm looking forward to some new leadership. And I believe that just him bringing more awareness to the conference in and of itself is going to make the conference more attractive. It's going to make it more competitive. It's going to make the recruiting for the Big Ten altogether a lot better. Even back down to speak on another member of the Big Ten, look at Penn State, what they've been able to do. Hell, they've come back from literally the brink of annihilation, and, that program has completely re-engineered itself, and it's also helped re-engineer the conference in and of itself. So you bring down Jim Harbaugh, it's only going to continue to, help elevate the conference and return it to its rightful status.
And we're joined by TrueSpeech, family grinding ENT recording artist and Bossman ENT co-host. Speech, look at that Big Ten East, man. Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, and the U of M. What a murderer's row right there. Now, this is what I think is going to happen in the Big Ten East speech, and John, is that, hey, you know how the SEC has a lot of cannibalism on its own with beating each other? He's going to be the same way in that Big Ten East. So, as we stand here today, with the recruiting classes that we have with Mark D'Antonio, James Franklin, Jim Harbaugh, and Urban Meyer, all fighting for the same players in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and Illinois. How do you see it falling for this year's speech for U of M, all those four teams in the Big Ten East?
Well, I would say that with the addition of Jim Harbaugh, it is a lot more hope because it's a lot of young guys that I knew personally here in Michigan. They're going out to Ohio State. One in particular, a running back by the name of Mike Weber. He played for Cass Tech High School here in Detroit. Mike is, I want to say, a 4- or 5-star prospect. Just signed to go down to OSU. I would have liked to see him here at the University of Michigan, but that's my boy, so I'm happy, and I'm going to root for him wherever he is. He's an amazing young man. Great talent, great person, and an upstanding gentleman. So I'm happy for him. We've lost some players, and it's not necessarily a bad move. I mean, as many bad things I have to say about Ohio State, you can't deny that Urban Meyer has done an amazing thing with the program. I mean, dude, they won a national championship with a third-string quarterback. I mean, that's unprecedented. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought, their chances were slim to none, but I'm a believer now. I could spit as much hate about OSU as I want to, but at the end of the day, I'm just gonna be lying to myself. You can't deny that. And you're right, it is gonna be a lot of cannibalism, but at the end of the day, I feel that with the Big Ten Conference, it's going to help promote the conference in and of itself. It's going to make it more attractive to people that aren't familiar with the conference. It's going to make it more competitive, and it's just going to drive the desire to be better within the conference overall. I think, what did Michigan State finish? 5th, I think, overall. So we have a lot to be proud of here in the Big Ten East, and I think that the level of competition is only going to help increase what we've been doing this far. And it's only going to help make it more attractive from recruits outside of, the tri-state area here. So I think it's actually going to help.
Yeah, and I think, JR, that they set that East up the way that they did, as you mentioned, as a murderer's row, because it's something that, those teams are going to have some premier matchups, and it's really going to drive some television ratings when you have every year a Michigan-Ohio State game at the end of November that everybody knows about. The game is a big deal already. Now with a resurgence of the Michigan program, that's going to just enhance that matchup even more. Michigan State, Ohio State have had some great games in the past, as have Michigan and Michigan State. Penn State, is just another formidable team that comes into that mix. So you got a four-headed hydra there as far as TV ratings and matchups are concerned. That's kind of what you get in the SEC. I mean, every week you have almost every week it seems like you have a premier matchup in SEC conference play, and that's kind of what I think that the Big Ten is going for with this Eastern side of the things, that they're setting it up so that they have one of these premier matchups virtually every week. And they're going to get it, man. Those are some tough teams, and there's no slouches on the other side either. I mean, there's quality teams now in the Big Ten on the other side of the conference as well. And you still have a couple cream puffs in there, but, once those those kids start to look at the conference, they want to play in that conference. So even those lower tier teams in the conference they're going to start to come up, and they're going to start to knock off some of the big boys once in a while. And, like Speech said, there's going to be a resurgence, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. I'm happy for it because, Big Ten football, Speech, you hear it all the time. I'm sensitive to it. People throw shade at the Big Ten. It's a slow, plodding conference, and the speed of the SEC and some of these other conferences beats the Big Ten every time. I don't buy into that. I don't buy into the fact that there isn't speed in the Big Ten. It's just that it hasn't been deployed in the same way that it has in some of the other conferences, namely the SEC. Now you're seeing teams like Ohio State, Michigan State start to deploy some of the speed that they do have within their own states in a way that is able to, be advantageous for them against some of these other conferences. And I think that's something that we're kind of seeing now, that the Big Ten is catching up a little bit to these other conferences in the way that they're utilizing their talent.
And John, absolutely, I agree. I definitely agree. We have always been able to attract great talent here, but I think now, recently, we've utilized it a lot better. And, that's your point. You made a great point. Overall, it's just going to make the conference more attractive. Kids are going to want to play here because they know that the television ratings are going to go up. More scouts are going to be looking at the conference, and they know that if they do well in a conference as competitive as the Big Ten is now and as it is going to be, it increases their chance of going to, the next level. So overall, I think it's going to make it insanely appealing. Like you said, they're going to have more matchups that are going to be similar to those SEC matchups where it's going to draw big ratings. It's going to draw a lot of attention. And, a lot of recruits, that's what they want, let's be honest. A lot of these kids, of course, they want to play for a school, they want to represent a school, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are trying to get to the next level. You do that through exposure and attention. I think that the more exposure, attention, and notoriety that the conference gets, the more attractive it's going to be to top-tier recruits from throughout the country, especially as far as out west. Because, John, you pointed this out, it was a brilliant point, we're going to have more competitive matchups, and people want to see that. People want to see those great games that are nail-biters. I mean, that's why we have, 13, 14 games now in college football in the season. So we've seen the number of games go up. And, of course, with the playoff system changing around, it's just going to add to the amount of people that are going to watch it. And then, people start watching, they start throwing your name around. It helps come combine time and drafting.
Yes, indeed. We're joined once again by TrueSpeech, Beckler, Garden, ENT, Bossman Show, ENT, co-host on TrueSpeech Thursday Speech. Switching up a bit, taking it to the D where you're at. The Detroit Pistons are on a run. They are balling, as John Mason would say. The ballers from the Detroit Pistons. They got rid of number 5 out of Southwest Atlanta High, Josh Smith. Got rid of that guy, waived him on the stretch provision, and voila, Speech. The Detroit Pistons only 2 games out of the 8th playoff spot after getting rid of Josh Smith. Talk about how removing that one guy has made the team flow so much better and get into Stan Van Gundy's 4-out 1-in offense to making the team play more smoothly on both ends of the floor.
Well, I've got to give it up first to Stan Van Gundy. I must do that because he made a decision that Pistons fans have been asking for a while now. We've known that Josh Smith was not the type of player that we wanted to bring here.